lighting is terrible.
So, yeah, the recording started. So welcome everyone in a more formal way to the DIVAAN ISHQ tonight or morning or wherever it is right now at your
Morning.
places. Yeah.
Morning, night, it's all the same, right? We're in we're in a time warp of the now moment, wherever we are. So this shows you what you said earlier about time does not exist, right? It's a construct of the mind. So these meetings like this really show us that we're aligned together despite time and space, right? So anyways, go ahead.
Exactly. Welcome to now together from all the different apparent locations, but together actually in heart. And I apologize for the noise from my side, but also I'm thinking, since I'm sure I won't be able to give a fair description of who tonight's or this morning's or now's guest is, I wonder, Sana, would you mind introducing yourself?
I was going to say no introduction at all is needed.
Would you like to give some background on, who you are?
I will. And Alicia was on my case last week to get my bio in. And honestly, I did not want to send her a bio. I was like, just write up anything. You know me, and just 4 or 5 sentences, and that's good. But anyways, yeah, I'm just to introduce myself, I'm an artist. A lot of you know me. I've been doing calligraphy, Islamic art for the past 20 years. And where it's led me up to this point in terms of my spiritual journey, which is I've always been someone who's been very spiritual. I met a guide many years ago when I was a teenager, who's the one who introduced me to calligraphy. And then since then I've been obsessed. But what I found it did was put me on a path of very subtle meditation, a path of very subtle contemplation, taking the time to know myself through the power of art and through the passion that the art provides me, which has been a very sort of strong catalyst for me to propel in the realm of understanding myself most of all, and understanding the nature of reality around me. So it really made me tap into that aspect as an artist. So I'm very blessed. I had a very mystical awakening about 7 years ago that led me from a very sort of, I wouldn't say religious sort of understanding of Islam and spirituality, but more of about witnessing and experience. So I was really thrown into that realm. But what that entailed was me to do a lot of shadow work and a lot of sort of hidden, look at a lot of hidden aspects of myself that were dark, that I had to integrate into my light, let's just say light body, my light aspect of my self, that I was always good, but I had to look at all the bad, and then sort of mesh the two and become more whole in every way possibly I could. So my art shifted in its way. It shifted in themes into, wholeness and universal truths. And so I shifted my work towards that direction. So now I'm at a place where I do a lot of interfaith work. My work is very geared towards non-Muslims and all people of all faiths and tribes and colors or whatever. So that's the direction I'm taking it, towards, humanity, as they call it. That's what I represent now, is everything human and everything that's, everything that is humble, wise, truth, what's your truth, what is you, what represents you. And that's what I sort of propagate now and express everywhere I go. It's just be you and don't worry about anything else. And that's it. And that's my introduction.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I understood you're going to be opening the theme of heart alchemy today?
Yeah. Heart alchemy. Yes, heart alchemy is something I've witnessed, I've experienced, and it is very different for everybody. But any words you have on that before I jump into that?
Maybe just that I thought it was just so wonderful, the introduction where you mentioned that shifting the awareness from the specific, I'm thinking religion or dogma, to the more broad spectrum. You mentioned humanity. I think that's maybe at the core of what I understand it as heart alchemy, that it's something every being, every individual goes through, consciously or unconsciously, regardless of any sort of either self-imposed or from society imposed kind of frame for it.
Yeah, right. Heart alchemy. So heart alchemy, and how I define my path now as a Sufi Muslim. So what I usually introduce myself is that I'm a Sufi, which is in essence the path of a Sufi is to purify your heart. So the heart alchemy, in whatever mystical way it happened for me, very intense way, even though it was a gradual process all my life, which if we all contemplate on, we've always had moments where we've had to purify that intention, we've had to purify that perspective constantly in our lives, and sort of things are thrown at us to help us purify that heart, right? The heart is the mirror, is the perspective that you see all of reality, right? It's something you see the whole entire world from your lens. Your lens is not your eyes, your lens is the heart. And so purifying that is what the journey becomes all about. And this is what I understood the core of Sufism to be, right? So when I awakened, and the heart alchemy was something that started, I had a voice that came to me from the outside that told me you are going to be turned from pennies to gold. And there was some sort of philosopher's stone involved in the background of this vision, and it was playing there. Philosopher's stone meaning some sort of propelling me to start seeing things for what they really were and becoming like seeing through the eyes of gold, which is what entailed that was that I had to transform into gold myself, which is what I realized. Okay, so this is a process of me cleansing myself from inside, which is the heart alchemy. Very literal in its meaning, alchemical process that occurs that transmutes everything that is negative, everything that is unpure, slowly from your being, from your body, literally. So this is actual physical process that occurs physically to detox your body first, as well as a perspective shift in your understanding and your purity of how you see things, simply. So that's when I'm like, oh, wow. So then the emphasis of perspective became the prime focus of my life. It's like, oh my goodness, okay, I see this way, but is this really happening this way? Or is it something I'm making up from my mind? Is it something I'm from my past hurt? So that starts to wash away from your lens, and you're like, okay, how is this thing in front of me displaying itself in its purest way? And actually what you start to see is maybe not what is happening in its purest way, but you yourself are seeing things from their purest form, which means that it might be a potential reality that can form, but it may not be there yet. So you start to see from the soul reality of things, not the 3D reality of things, which actually can be very bad in reality, in actual essence, but then you yourself are seeing from the eyes of the soul, the eyes from the pure heart. And so that becomes the vision of the artist that I had to start to live up to as a person, as an artist, that, oh, okay, I have a vision that I have to keep that's way above the collective, that I have to maintain now, that is way beyond what others are seeing. And the fact that I started to manifest what I was painting, like quite literally, whatever I would paint would come alive in my reality after this experience. I started to sort of develop this power within me that, oh, wow, I have a very great responsibility and power to put into the world all that is really heavenly, really up there, top notch. And people are down here, but I have to try to lift them up, to ascend them into this vision of the soul, right? So that became my journey. You know, and there was something my master said to me, a guide said to me many years ago at an interfaith event that I had made a poster for, and he said, the if you criticize the artist, it is like you are criticizing the creator, is what he said. While in the audience, and he's looking at me, but he's looking at the crowd, and he says that, and that's something that stuck with me all my life since then. And I started to analyze what he said. And basically what it was is putting my role as an artist, as a creator, in the role of someone who can make a big impact in terms of what my perception is and my higher vision is. And so I started to take responsibility of that role as a creator of my own reality, and sort of put it out there on paper. And me putting it on paper translated into actual physicality, which is something I started to my vision started to open to. I was like, wow, I'm living in my own creation here. Um, and this is something we all start to realize: we are living in our own creation. We are living through our own lens of perception. So yeah. Any words anybody else has?
My words would be I'm in transition to that, inshallah. Like that's the goal. The goal is to be in my own I mean the goal is to ascend basically.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just whatever it is, I'm just walking towards it. I'm not there yet.
Totally. Yeah. And Noor was someone who was placed in my path very recently, and she happened to be from Houston, which is so ironic. And part of the same tariqa and following the same guide. So it shows you we are always placed with people and aligned with people that are meant for us. But the ascension path is something I'm going to say about. Ascension path is something I wasn't very aware of prior to my experience, but it is a very known reality in Islam, with Prophet going up to his ascension. But then you realize actually we are actually living a physical ascension ourselves in a personal level as well. That is sort of kind of a copy of Prophet's ascension. So he's showing that there's levels of spirituality that you can reach. And my sheikh has talked about this as like, imagine you're in a video game and you're playing, you're experiencing different levels. You transcend one level, you go move up to the next level, but there's tricky aspects of every level that you have to sort of maneuver to be able to get to the next level. So the tricky aspects are all the tricky aspects of your own ego that need to be looked at. And this is the path of knowing yourself again. Okay, what is my ego doing here that's transforming and becoming something else? How can I eradicate that tricky ego and bring it back to my center, and move it into a place of soul again? So that path of ascension becomes about looking at those little tiny shadow aspects of yourself and slowly integrating them to serve your higher purpose. And the ascension journey literally is something where you're moving up in the scale of your spirituality. And this is a physical ascension where you're actually flying upwards. I've seen this through a vision that I was on a staircase, a spiral staircase that was going up like this. And there were different rooms that I was transferring into to experience different things. But then I was actually led back to the staircase after experiencing those things in the rooms, and I was led back to where Alicia is sitting right now in a library that contained the treasure of my, you can say, as they call it, Akashic records in many languages, but it's like your soul reality, your ultimate destiny. You know, and I was led to that to download into my human self. So that's just one experience I had. I also had an experience where I was told I had wings for you know, as crazy as that sounds. But I was led to embrace a lot of mystical aspects in my journey that, wow, you know, I was put on this really very literally artistic path of like, okay, now this, very artistically led, you know, through a lot of visions. And that's how I maneuvered my path through these past 7 years now. But very real, you know, very mystical. So this is what I try to get others to open to the power of the mystical, to open to the power of the unseen, because I've experienced so much of this. And what I see now in the world is very people who are very closed-minded, who are very sort of look through the lens of their mind, look through the whatever their eyes see, and that's how they translate spirituality. But spirituality is so much more than that. You have to let go of the mind and embrace the vision of the artist, as they call it, and the vision of the artist. Be open is the main thing I preach now, is just be open to others' experiences, be open to the universal truths that's trying to come through you, and you know, develop a mind of awareness of yourself, and awareness of where you're limiting yourself in every sort of way. So this is becomes the path. You know, open to the sky. That's the ascension journey, is open to the sky. All things are possible, right? Recently, I was with Alicia, and I noticed that the mosque of the Medina, the dome was open one day, and I saw it open. I was like, oh wow, this is very interesting. The fact that it opens up to the sky. So the sky is a metaphor that my teacher has also mentioned very recently while I was visiting. And he said something about the sky, picking up messages from the sky. So this is an open reality that we can transverse through, but it requires us to open ourselves first, and opening our ego up first, because the ego is the first thing that puts limits on us in every sort of way. So this is a detaching from the ego, but integrating it into the soul reality of ourselves. So this is not a letting go of your ego. This is a training your ego to see from the eyes of the soul. And the soul has the ability to fly, right? The soul has the ability to look through this higher vision. So that's what it becomes. It's like living through your soul in a human body. I am not from here, but I am from here. I'm from here, but I'm not from here, right? The soul is not from here. It's from an eternal place. So yeah. I keep talking. Is there anyone else wants to say something? I think Alicia is here now. Let's see. She's in contemplation mode. There we go.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute. I said thank you for sharing, and you know, and the time that you're giving us. Really appreciate it. I was wondering, you know, you
honored.
said, yeah, symbolically you said, and literally that, you know, we must open ourselves up, right, and to be able to receive. So, you know, there's this whole idea of being open, but yet not letting go of certain things that block that opening, such as, you know, certain ideas and beliefs.
Mhm.
And what would you recommend for those who want to open up, but then they're still holding on to like certain things that may not be facilitating that opening?
Right, right. Well, you are going to definitely be introduced to guides who will help you see that higher vision, that will help you transcend those limited beliefs. But for most people, it's very hard to, when they're in an experience, when they're experiencing, say, a problem or something, to be able to see beyond the problem, because their emotions, their physicality is so involved, is so meshed and corded into it, right? It's like a cords. So you have to almost find someone else who can help you to guide you to a higher vision, because you're so meshed in those limited beliefs. But I mean, if you are to want to see through those limited beliefs, the best way is really to know yourself, to really sit down and be like, okay, is this something that is from my ego, or is this something from my soul? And a way to decipher between what is your ego from your limited beliefs is very attached to the ego, because the ego likes to put a limit on every single thing. But the fact is that there is no limit to anything that's possible. So this is this is a perception that you have to open up your physical body to. But this requires for you to constantly train and become self-aware of wherever you're lacking and limiting your own abilities. The fact that we can fly, that shows you that there's really no limit of our actual soul potential. We ourselves in a body, yes, we have to integrate and do all the work, yes, but in terms of what you can achieve here is very, very high up there. um, and that is what opens up our realities. When we start to let go of the limited beliefs in our mind, then our own reality and even our physicality starts to open up. So this then becomes a path of the higher consciousness, which is what I love to emphasize, that it's more to do with your level of your level of consciousness than it has to do with anything else. And the level of consciousness is directly linked to the heart alchemy, the heart purification of actually seeing reality for what it is. It's not the mind up here that has the higher vision. It's the heart that's connected to this consciousness that allows you to see. So it's very connected to the opening of the heart. So yeah, just knowing yourself, and as I said, just trying to, and just slowly at a very practical level, deciphering between ego and soul, and making like that a practice every day, in every situation you're in. Is this being ruled by my emotions? Is this being ruled by my past, my hurt, my family, my ancestral sort of upbringing? Is this ruled by that, or is it ruled by me, as a free being, as a free bird? And then sort of deciphering between the two and making your decisions based on that, based on, being able to decipher. But the first path is about learning how to decipher what is ego and what is soul, what is ego, what is soul, right? Ego is all about limits, soul is all about freedom. Limits, soul, freedom. Limits, freedom. This can be even within yourself. What kind of limits you're putting on yourself, right? So doesn't have to be nothing to do with the outside half the time. So yeah, long-winded answer, but yeah. Anything else? Something comes up for anybody?
Yes, there's also this one more concept that helps me, but I forget, and then I'm again like, why do I forget that? But that works for me. It's like observe, but don't absorb, right?
Yeah.
And we can't equate it with the soul and ego, because the ego is like attack mode and the soul is like the fly mode, right? So it's like observe and not absorb.
Yes.
absorb. So
Totally.
yeah, I'm like, I should get it tattooed here so that I don't forget it. Because it works. So yes, how would you relate that with it? If you have to reflect on it, how would you do that? How does
Yeah, that's
observation works for you?
totally right. Because half the time when we see some situation unfold, we react, obviously, right? The first thing our ego loves to do is react to it. It gets triggered by it in some sort of way. So when you know that you're being triggered by it, that's an opening, as Rumi calls it, the light where the light enters is where the wound is. That's exactly what it is. It's like an opening where you're finding something about yourself that's lacking, right? That's wounded, that's hurt. So so then what you start to see, that anything like in your surroundings that is triggering you, you totally flip it as a means for you to know yourself and become more stronger. See, so you're not seeing obstacles as an obstacle anymore. You're seeing them as a blessing, right? In disguise. You're seeing them in their ultimate reality, that they're actually helping me improve. Okay, so then you're like, okay, bring it on, right? Bring those problems on. I'm ready, because that's helping me get stronger, right? Like building muscle. You have to be able to be able to resist the pain a little bit, be able to become stronger. It's just like that in spirituality. You have to be able to take on pain to be able to become stronger. My journey has been all about pain, all throughout my life, and I didn't understand this. I had rheumatoid arthritis that made my fingers crooked, but I still am able to do really good art, right? So people are really kind of surprised by it. This is a piece I've done here in the back, but it shows you that my disability has not limited my ability to do very powerful art. And that shows you that we're beyond the physicality. Our soul, when it starts to rule the show, has the ability to do so much more than we have the ability to understand. The biggest musicians in the world, like some of them are blind, some of them are deaf. Like, what does that tell you? That tells you that this is a realm of channeling something a lot more higher than what your physicality can carry. And this is a breaking down. What this represents to me is a breaking down of my physical body, breaking down of my ego in such a way that helped me to channel higher, aspects of reality. And I'm okay with being broken down in the physical now, because what I got was so much greater, right? Was way beyond. And I'm at a place now where I'm very healed from the pain that was caused by all the training, as you can call it, the pain training. So going back to the point of not absorbing but observing, that is at the fundamental level of, if we're going to be able to perceive reality for what it really is. Because absorbing is something of a lower nature. It's your absorbing is a place where you're not being able to see things for what they really are. It's about protecting your energy from yourself. Most of all, it's like you start to see, okay, it's not about blaming others actually around you. It's actually more about you becoming empowered within yourself, where you're able to deflect away negativity that's coming towards you, and becoming a being of light, where you're able to deflect off the darkness, and maintain your light, and maintain your nur, as Noor's name mentions. It's about maintaining your nur and knowing that you're not the darkness. So don't allow the darkness to come in. Any sort of darkness you let in means that you actually have that darkness within you in the first place, that is allowing it to become absorbed in you, which then shows you something about yourself. Anything that I'm absorbing that's actually a weakness of mine. That's some aspect of me that's dark that needs to be integrated in a more light way and transformed. So, right, the more you do that, the more you see, okay, there's a darkness outside of me. Okay, this is something inside me that's making me absorb it, integrate it, get to know yourself, transmute it, alchemize it in a way that's light. And then you'll see that more and more you're going to be able to be light wherever you go. So you'll be able to patch those holes of wherever you're absorbing things in the form of wounds, and be able to be very unpenetrable, which is the path of alchemy. It's the path of being alchemized into gold. What is gold? It's the highest conductor in the periodic table. It's the element that is most solid in its form, right? Gold, but it's something that reflects light like no other element does. It is the color of light. So solid as gold, right? So this is what it is. It's like purifying yourself and making yourself light bodied so much that you're like unpenetrable by any sort of challenges in the outside, right? I mean, no, unmute yourself and say those amens in the middle, right? Yeah, because I feel like we're in this silent room right now, but it would be good if everybody just unmuted, and so we felt like we were in a room right now together. Yeah, everybody should just unmute and just say whatever in the middle, interrupt me. So Noor has something to say about this, I know.
I'm totally enjoying your talk. I'm loving it.
Oh, who is this?
Mariam.
Oh, hey, how are you?
I'm
good
good.
for
How are
you. You're enjoying it. What aspects are you enjoying? What sticks out to you right now?
Like
that is connection to your life.
Right now, I was just thinking about what you said. About when you are absorbing any darkness, that means there's something in you, and that's what I worry about. So, like, I think you have given me an answer how to deal with it. So, thank you for that. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, it's all about practical integration. It's like, we don't realize how spirituality is so meshed with our personal experiences every day, but those personal challenges and experiences are the exact thing that are meant to help you ascend. It's not about some spiritual goal up there, in the ethers. It's living our life and being able to cope and transcend the challenges, and literally be able to transcend them. So this is literally, you have the ability to transcend your problems just by the way you think of them half the time, and not to jump into them, right? It's just you just have to change your perspective. Sometimes it's just a perspective shift, because in reality, everything is for your highest good. Everything that Allah Ta'ala has put in your life is for your highest good. And this is an understanding that when you start to develop, oh my goodness, everything actually is in perfection. Everything is exactly aligned and in the perfect place right now. Okay, so if I'm having a problem with it, then what does that mean? What does that mean about my own perception? Then you start to be like, okay, if everything is, Allah Ta'ala has made everything in divine perfection, where is my vision lacking in seeing that perfection, right? So then you start to align your will with the higher will. And yes, it's not going to be according to our ego wants it now, right? Which is ego's nature is to be impatient. Ego's nature is not able to see the higher picture unfolding. But Allah Ta'ala's vision of what He wants for you is far greater than what you want in the moment right there in front of you right now, right? So we only see from the lens of like what tiny little puzzle that's showing up in the side corner of our eye, but we don't see, okay, wait a minute, we're supposed to see from both eyes, and we're supposed to see from a higher vision and what is unfolding here. And you'll start to realize, okay, 5 years ago, what I wanted, actually, I'm happy I didn't get it, because where I'm at now is so much greater. It's so much more developed in my understanding, so much more refined, right? So you start to see this, and then you start to appreciate the sort of downfalls, the things that don't work out, the things that do work out. And you're like, you know, alhamdulillah, you start to develop an actual gratefulness, a real gratefulness, not just reading it on a tasbih, but actual seeing the gratefulness of yourself unfold by the way. Who said that? Who is this? Someone was saying, okay, maybe she unmuted herself without, unless she wants to say something. But yeah, you aligning your vision with the divine vision is what this the alchemy is about. It's about seeing reality for what it is, that it's imperfection. Be patient. A lot of the journey about spirituality is about being patient, learning to be patient. This is also a very key thing. You know, patience is what opens the soul, opens you up, because ego's characteristic is very impatient, wants things instantly. This is the practice of fasting, the practice of all these rituals we do is to teach us patience, right? So patience is something that opens you to the reality of your soul. What does your soul want for you? The soul wants for you something far greater than what you are perceiving in your physical reality that you want, right? We are only looking at basic needs when it comes to our physical body. We are not looking at what Allah Ta'ala wants for us as a soul. That's going to require some sacrifice. That's going to require us to be triggered in our reality, to be able to, you know, slowly develop a more masterful sort of persona that allows you to be unpenetrable, right? Nur, light, and maneuver that. And that's such a big gift for us to be given challenges just to be able to become this light body in a physical form. That's the best gift ever. And if we look at it, all of us that do have challenges, we signed up for this. Our soul signed up for this. We're like, I'm signing up for the highest, you know, you wrote it down in Day of Promises. I'm signing up for the highest version of myself. So, you know, here, sign here. God's like, sign here, right? And we did that. We did that, right? We did that. We promised to God that we would reach our highest potential. So yeah, it's hard. I mean, athletes train and it's hard, but you know, what can we do? We gotta put in the work to be able to get there. Yes, it's magic. It is magic, but then you also got to do the physical work. It's practical as much as it is magic. So it's an integration of both your higher consciousness, opening up from your limited beliefs, and doing the actual practical work, which Alicia is so good at, you know, and all of you are so good at. You're very grounded. So it's also, as my friend calls it, we're like grounded unicorns. We have a group on WhatsApp. It's called Grounded Unicorn. So it's literally you're like this mystical horse, like the Burak, but then you're very grounded, right? The ascension journey of Prophet was all about going physically to those places. This is emphasized, you know, in the Islamic traditions. He physically went to these places, which is what deciphers him as a human being who went up to the heavens in a physical body. And that's, how did he do that? That means that he had to be integrated as a light being in so much that he was able to handle what was high up there. This is something, his station is unreachable. You can't reach that station, right? Imagine us trying to go up to the heavens. I almost blew up when I had my experience, quite literally. It was so intense of light integration that I was like, whoa, you know, it was so intense, where I was detoxed of my body, of all I had like acne coming up on my skin. It was like a physical detox. It was, but quite literally, I felt like I exploded. And I told this to my guide. I was like, you know, I was spinning like a something, like a nucleus, and I felt like I exploded one day. And he told me it was like a turbine, and I'll share this with you. But he said it was because the heart was spinning in a way that was so powerful because the heart activation that happened, and it made me spin like a turbine. Which, funny enough, when I was going to see him on the drive, I saw these turbines, and I was wondering about them, what they meant. But it's the same concept of a whirling dervish, and this is the concept where they spin in like fana to the point where they can ascend to a different reality, where they can go up into see things from a different lens, a higher vision. So that's what it entailed. The spinning of my heart allowed me to rise up and see beyond the collective noise, as you call it, start to help me see the higher vision rather than the ego vision. So that was the greatest gift. But yeah, I don't know what I said there, but I'll stop there. Oh my
Actually,
God.
I was having questions and you were just answering them as you were talking. So I think that was.
I was actually, you were coming to my mind as I was saying them very specifically. So yeah, I think we were having a dialogue between you and me there in the higher, the psychic realm.
I'm just trying to get out of the way because I just feel like all those things you're saying is like, okay, what's in the way? Is it the emotion? Is it the absorbing too much? And then it's like, okay, I got all this information. Okay, and then it's time to put it to use. And then I get thrown in the jungle and it's like, it goes away. Like I'm sitting there stuck and looking around and everyone's looking like you're messing up. And I'm like, I know, but I just learned so much. And it's just like every single time it's like, ooh.
Yeah, it's practice, right? The journey is about practicing it. So it's about trying to get out of those cycles. So it's like, as they call it, the repeated cycles, being able to form a different pattern for yourself that allows you to get out of that repeated pattern, right? So it's about becoming aware of yourself, but then this is an integration of your emotional body. It's an integration of a lot of things that has to happen, right? So you'll be put into the same test again and again until you get it right, right?
What's it? Like, and that's where patience, you said patience. It's like, honestly, it's like 5 years of consistent, not like 5 years consistently. I'm trying to get out of the cycle.
Exactly.
I don't know what to do with it.
Totally. I mean, it definitely is. It's not easy. This is something I think people don't realize what real spirituality is. It's actually not easy. It's not something, magically you're transformed. It's a process, of years and years of practicing, being thrown tests and being able to master yourself, so it's about being the master, you being the master of your own self in every sort of way. Right? And that actually being the master of yourself in every sort of way starts to mirror in your surroundings. So then you're like, wow, this is a journey about me mastering myself, and everything then after that starts to mirror back. And yeah, it won't exactly mirror back rainbows and butterflies to you, but it will mirror back things that will throw at you things that to see, okay, are you still strong here? I want to see this. I want to test this, right? God's like, I'm going to test this. So I'm going to still throw you challenges, even though your mirror may be masterful, but still that shows you the way that you can handle those things. Then after that becomes like gold, solid gold. You're like, nope, you're not getting to me.
I'm praying for the day.
Right?
Yeah.
Alicia was going to say something.
We had a question from Mariam, where she's saying that, what do you do when one is always in a blank mental state?
What can you do when you're in a blank mental state? Can you elaborate on that, Maria? Is she still there? Yes.
Mm.
when you're in a blank mental state, that's probably showing you that you need to, it's helping you. Okay, she's saying in the comments, like understanding something and then becoming totally zero. Blank mental state is probably a state where you can, it's like a facilitator. Okay, get out of your mind. It's almost like God saying, here, I'll give you this blank mental state so you can allow yourself to see from a higher place, kind of the void, as they call it, the 0 point consciousness, as some people call it. It's a place of a place of nothingness where you realize that actually, yeah, I am nothing, totally detached from everything that your ego is saying here. Self-respect, whatever that translates to you. Many times we translate situations from a place of I am, this is me, so that's why I need this, or that's why I need to see it this way. Totally eradicate your sense of self-respect, your sense of wanting anything, thinking anything, and see from there. And you'll see that there's nothing going on, quite literally. A place where nothing is actually going on other than what your ego is feeding it. So that blank state of mind is actually really good for you. Know that that's actually the state of your being at all times. There is nothing going on.
You get into a non-judgmental thing, like give up, I don't know. Is that what you're saying? Like letting go of even the so-called knowing?
Exactly. See, she's saying, oh my God, that is how I feel. Nothing is going on. Exactly. It is a place of, it's how much of our ego attaches to stories half the time, right? It attaches to the past. It attaches, imagine yourself like today, if you were to face this scenario, just kind of become aware of yourself and be like, okay, is this something that the past did to me and now I'm sort of presenting it in the future? Is it something I'm translating this to be and it's actually not? How much of this I'm blowing up more out of proportion more than I really need to? I mean, all these things, right? It's like, what is reality for what it is right now in this moment? Nothing is happening other than, say, a bunch of egos fighting or just ego reality, right? So it's like you got to step away from the ego reality of things, embrace the nothingness of what's happening, quite literally, and then move your perception more and more into that space. And then you'll see things will calm and buffer out even in your surroundings. I've seen this, like things will just buffer out just because of my own state of being in a calm place, not putting a story on it, not mirroring a reaction out of it. It really helps. And this is what makes heaven on earth happen. This is the reality of heaven on earth, is your heaven that you are in the form of a non-ego body that translates into your living, into your physical body. And you're like, wow, I can live in my own heaven at all times, regardless of what other hells are going around me. Okay, this is cool. Right? You are heaven on earth in your own body, right? You are not affected by others and what their reactions are. You are a totally separate entity of yourself. Once you realize that you are so empowered, you will feel very empowered by this power, that you have the ability to feel what you feel, and nothing can change that. You are your own person, not attached to anybody.
How can you feel empowered amidst a lot of burden?
Yeah, that's a big thing. That's what I was just saying right now. That takes practice, right? So amidst the chaos, you being empowered takes practice. This is a journey about you really integrating your own power, your own self-worth, your own self-respect. These are all aspects we learn on this journey of really really living our truth, really living who we are. This is an unfolding, you know. It's taken me some years to really be strong in who I am, but it works. And then people start to reflect that back. They're like, oh, she can't be messed with. Nope. Just, you know, so even amidst the chaos, what can you do? It's just then and it goes back to your point, not absorbing it, just observing it. And that's the best we can do, right? We're put into the fire, but it's like the reality of Ibrahim in the middle of the fire. He wasn't getting burned. This is a reality. This is the station you can reach. You can be sitting in the middle of a fire and nothing is touching you, right? This is the reality of many prophets that went through suffering. The prophet they had enemies coming around him, and he was put inside a tree. You remember that? It was Prophet Shoaib, I think. He was placed inside a tree. I made an illustration of that one time. But you know, prophet was put inside a cave when the enemies were coming near him, and he was protected by the spider web that was on the front, right, to show the enemies that, oh, there can't be anybody in here, you know. So things like that, if you believe that you can be protected in those ways, beyond the unseen, just plant that in your mind, that you can be protected in ways that is beyond perception. It doesn't have to be in the way we think, right? So these are dimensions of protection. This doesn't translate sometimes in the form of something we physically see. These are very unseen dimensions of how God can protect you from the chaos around you. It's just a matter of your own pure intentions. This is where the trust in God then comes into play. You trust God, you trust the higher, you don't trust the lower humans sometimes. You will start to see, the more I trust God, the more I will actually be protected by God himself. And that's all you need. It's like, wow, I've seen so many times where I've felt protected, where I couldn't protect myself. And I was like, you know, this is great. My level of faith in a higher being, in a higher Allah Ta'ala is like, it's increased immensely. It's you know, as much as you maintain your own power, you also have to let it go to a higher being that protects you, you know. And this is real. It's real. So yeah, any other questions? Any thoughts? I didn't think I would be talking most of the time here.
Something came up, and I wanted to ask you in regards to a very common theme with spiritual seekers, and that is the whole idea of resistance and accepting certain conditions. So in the process of alchemy, where would you say one is in that process of alchemizing to gold or transcending, if they are constantly experiencing a reality that is different from the inner reality? So basically a resistance. So what do you do to alchemize the resistance? Do you embrace it? Do you continue to resist till you see change, or do you surrender? What is it? Because it's an alchemy. It's an alchemy that is required.
I mean, to cut the journey and make it easier for yourself, definitely to go with the flow. I personally have had a lot of resistance on my path, so I know it's a very real sort of level where you do resist many things in the beginning at a very ego way. But it goes back to the point of, you know, looking at the higher purpose in it, higher vision of it. What is opening for me? Detaching from the ego, knowing that it's a training for the ego. Any sort of resistance, which now I am happy to say that I am very in touch with the I am flow, which is the going with the flow, going, surrendering to whatever it is. I feel that creates a lot of freedom within you when you're able to go with the flow. You know, seeing some sort of delay in your reality as a blessing in disguise. What is this delay? Okay, I couldn't get here at the right time or the right place at the specific time I wanted, but maybe there's something else that's unfolding here that I want that is not good for me, for example, right? So there's so many things we want that are not good for us. Where does that resistance come from? Meaning that something your ego wants that you're not getting. And what is God telling you? That, okay, well, you're not getting it for a reason. There's a higher purpose unfolding here, right? So kind of tapping into that and just knowing, okay, your ego wants are not going to be met sometimes, and that's a good thing. And be okay with that. Be non-resistant of it, and embrace the higher purpose in it, right? The higher purpose. Continuously move back into the center of the higher purpose. And you'll start to see that when you start to center yourself, what is the higher purpose in this for me? You will start to see the higher purpose things unfold, because you have to center yourself to really believe that it's a higher purpose. What is, right? Half the time we don't believe. That's the thing. Then it becomes about going back to your, what are you believing at a very core level that is happening in your reality over and over again? Go back to those beliefs that you have, and go back to those beliefs that you don't have. Belief in the higher God, believe in a higher purpose. Go back to that, and you'll start to see wisdom of why things happen the way they do unfold. I've seen this in my own life, and it's been such a big gift to be able to be revealed higher wisdom in why something is unfolding, some sort of chaos. I was like, okay, I get it. It's like the secret of Sayyidina Khizr, it's like the green man. Why is that reality in Islam? Is to show you that there's a literal reality of Prophet Musa, see from the eyes. Obviously his station was much higher than what is shown, but it's just showing you, he's playing like a role play of the literal meaning of things and the higher meaning of things, which is represented by the green man. There is always an inner wisdom in things that we do not see sometimes, and it looks bad sometimes, half the time. He killed the man, he killed the boy, he poked a hole in the boat of the poor man, right? He killed the boy. Why? Because he killed the boy because his fortune was going to be taken by someone, right? That was going to manipulate and be bad, right? The man's boat was poked because there was a king's army coming to take the boat. So if a damaged boat, he wouldn't take. So these things, if we start to practically apply these wisdoms in our own life, why it's happening, and it doesn't look exactly what it is, then we start to see, okay, we are, just go with the flow. God is taking care of me. Ultimately, God's protection rules everything. His mercy is all transcending. If we really believe that, we will start to see, right? Well, we got to believe it first. That's the first step, right? It's about really believing. This is what the path becomes. It's like, where am I actually still not believing? Yes, I read it on a paper, and I've studied spirituality, and I've done this all my life, but now it's a matter of me really believing in this power, right? And then really experiencing it. And that's amazing.
So likewise, that belief means to trust in the unseen, because due to our finite sort of understanding of what entails movement and manifestations and so forth, we're still limited. And if we perceive through the senses or the sensorial sort of dimension, then we're not gonna see things or experience as effectively. So then there's that element of the unseen realm. So like you said, belief or trust in the unseen, the wisdom that we don't have at the moment or not privy to. And hence, I guess what I'm gathering is that, you know, belief and trust in the unseen sort of unfolding. And then when you trust, then you're given insight on that 3D level. Like, for example, you're always having stories of, oh, look, that license plate. Today, like my son said this, and, you know, I saw this on the movie, you know, and you're constantly, you know, unveiling the signs on the horizon or the sha'air Allah, right? Like the signs of God,
Totally.
which are meant to be experienced with the senses, right? And that is also part of the journey, but then that won't be, from what I understand, is that that's not always going to be experienced if we don't believe and if we don't trust in the unseen realm. And when we kind of let go and say, okay, back to the unseen, then we're shown the signs again to say, hey, you know what, good thing you trusted, we're going to show you. So just chill out, and then you're going to, as long as you keep that trust and the belief in parallel, you're going to see the signs, and you keep moving, because it's not supposed to be a full blindfolded path where you're just supposed to trust and keep walking.
Totally.
You know, because we're human beings at the end of the day. So yeah.
Totally. I mean, how many of us have experienced the phenomenon of numbers, have experienced, you know, signs and synchronicities? I don't know if all of you have experienced it, but I definitely have since I awakened to these signs. But yeah, you do need that sort of practical God kind of puts you, you know, brings you back, you know, to show you, no, you're always protected. Just know you're always protected. And yeah, we give it like whenever I'm very sad, I actually get a very strong, I get sense that open to me that show me, like when I'm kind of down, I literally, like, the scent will come in my nose and it will lift my spirit. Where does that come from? It's just showing me that, no, I'm still here. You know, don't worry. Even if something looks scary and it may be hard to deal with, I am still here, and I've got this every single time, and it's never gone from me. That's just one example. And then obviously with the numbers, many signs we see, many people that come in our life that help us, that in the form of angels. The help can be translated in so many ways, and sometimes we limit ourselves in the form of how help comes to us. Say we limit it to money, or we limit it to a certain way we think, right? We limit it to, oh, it needs to come in this form. Little do we know that God is infinite. He has the ability to give you help in ways that you actually didn't even know you needed for half the time, right? So he gives you that help in the way you need. And this is a very strong aspect of, I think, when we start to realize, okay, it's not coming in the form that I thought I needed. It's coming in the form that God thinks I needed. And that is like something really powerful too. It's like, what do I need in this moment? And then sort of tap into that. And then you'll start to see, okay, what my situation and what's happening to me actually is for my highest good right now. You know, it's not what I want, but it is what I need. And so then you start to move into that place of surrender also more, right? Surrendering more to the flow. And this is the essence of Islam. How hard is it for us to surrender? This is a big thing. Surrendering the place, being a Muslim at the core essence of what it means. And this is, by the way, a universal reality. Being a Muslim is a universal reality. Islam is a universal reality. You know, submission, path of surrendering, peacefulness. This is the state of Buddha. This is the state of all the transcendent masters. This is their state, right? How can we achieve it in our regular life? This is a struggle. The resistance is there, but know that your ego is limited in its view and you can't see the whole perspective. Know that there's a higher perspective, higher vision for you. And just trust that, you know, just trust it and put aside what you want. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Right. Kind of went off topic to what you were addressing, but
no, not at all. I mean, it's all
I let
relative.
it flow wherever it was meant to flow. I tend to see like where if I try to bring back my mind and say something that sometimes even relates to the question, I go off track and I take it a different direction. So I'm learning to like just trust wherever it's going.
Exactly.
Right? My mind went out the window many years ago. It was so what? What were
I
you gonna
can't
say?
wait.
Sure.
I can't wait because I'm trying to figure out like what do I have to do or what it is, and it's just like it seems like you have to have self-discipline. Like no one else can do something for you. Like at the end of the day, like you have to just check your own mind. Like it's gonna just
Totally. Yeah, exactly. And you're a ruler of your own reality, right? Ultimately, not someone else, even though they may have done something bad to you, still you can control your own reaction to it. And that's very empowering, you know? It's very empowering to know that you actually are not influenced by your reality as much as you think you are. It all comes back to you. This path becomes about you know, you are the center, not in an egotistical way, but in a way that makes you very empowered, makes you take your power back and to become more and more responsible for yourself, right? And then you don't worry about others. It's so crazy. You stop to, first thing that happens is you stop blaming others around you and you're just like, okay, if I have the ability to change this, I will change myself. And that's the best I can do. And that's so great. You imagine how great that is. So what is someone, she was saying something here in the chat. What you said right now, my dad tells this to me, everything keep flowing, believe there will be nothing but goodness. Yeah, totally. That's the best advice. What is meant for you will come to you if it's meant for you, and the time it's meant written for you will come to you. So just believe that there's certain inspirations you get that you know that there's something more for you, then sort of keep that vision and just allow for the process to unfold. The journey of the artist is all about the process. I share more pictures of the process of how I make the art than I do anything else. You know, the end piece is something, oh, okay, I've made an end piece. And I get excited about that just as much. But I'm actually more about the process and what that reveals at a ground level as when I'm painting it, step by step. And the way I channel the work is actually very flowy. I actually don't know myself what I'm going to paint. People may think that I actually plan these out and I sketch them in the beginning. No, I actually do not make a sketch in the beginning. I actually go step by step. I have a blank page. I work with a blank page with a blank mind, quite literally. I do not know what I'm going to write, other than specific, say, verses that I have in my heart that I want to put, and those also come inspired. Okay, this emphasize this, and so then I do those verses. I start to reflect on those verses, and then more opens, and then more opens, and step by step I place different things on the paper. And quite literally, I don't know how many of you have seen my last piece, but I actually did not know it was going to be this angelic being that was going to be translated as Angel Gabriel. It was going to be translated as the human being, the Barak, and everything else in between, all at the same time. It was like, okay, no, you can't limit what this identity of this angel is going to be here now, right? I placed it on top of the dome of Medina to represent the peak to represent the mountain that where Angel Gabriel came to him, as well as the peak of the dome of your own reality. Move up to the peak. What is it showing you? You know, the dome. The antenna is more of an intuition. It's representative of your intuition. You know, tap into that. And then the intuition is connected, the angelic being is connected to this sun, this light consciousness, which is, I actually did not intend to connect the top of the angel to the sun shape. That was something that totally just, I just went with the flow. I just knew I needed to do some sort of angel. Though when I started to draw it, I realized, oh, this is actually a really big angel. Okay. And then I found that it was the same length, the same expansiveness of the sun. So I'm like, okay, this is a big angel. Okay, because when you look at the painting, it shows you that the size of the angel is as big as the sun up there. So shows you the reality of angels, first of all. Right. And then so I draw the angel, I drew the dome. So it just shows you that I don't plan these things. Just as life, you just have to move like an artist. Just come with a blank page, be ready to like be able to see how the whole picture unfolds. You may be completely astounded by the time it finishes, you know, something that was not, you wouldn't have never thought of. And this is where I let go. I'm like, okay, I'm totally willing to let go for the higher vision to unfold here. Even though the piece may look a little funny for some people, it may not look very traditional to some people. You actually may not even make a lot of money, but I don't really care at this point. I'm a server of the higher vision. I serve what that channeling needs to come forth. And that is very tapped into the mystical aspect of the unseen, the mystical aspect of the concepts that we don't sort of perceive from the mind, all that, right? This is a human, angelic human that's connected to the consciousness of light, right? That is, and the verses that I've used are going into the dimension where Prophet went 2 bows length or nearer. He went physically, as well as, oh, obviously you can connect it to the heart, that you're able to move into this reality whenever you want at all times, to just tap into it, tap into your heart. The green also represents the heart. And then the universe around, there's a sky, it's night and it's day at the same time. It's showing, it's like a hue of the blue that's night and day, you know, as bright as the sun. So the night looks really bright. It's not so dark. So it can be both as you interpret it, you know. So I leave a lot to open to interpretation with my work. I love to do that. I don't like to limit my own sort of meaning that I attach to it, because I know there's infinite meanings to them, right? The verses of Quran also have infinite meanings. However, anybody likes to interpret it from their own personal experience, I'm always open to that. And I love that because it shows you how infinite creativity can be, right? Everyone is tapped into a different tap, but it's all coming from the same source, right? Kind of deal. So yeah, that's, you know, as an artist, I realized why I was given this gift of this awakening is to really instill in myself this unlimited consciousness, and to allow others to be able to experience that in some way, at least by just seeing the work, but opening their minds, right? Opening up. What was Mariam was saying something here
I
again?
think
I think she had a question.
May had a question.
Oh,
So if you
yeah.
want to see that, yeah.
What does it mean to be in your own way? And how do you see that it is you in the way, being a channel of the higher vision? How do you discipline yourself to know the difference? Okay.
I mean, Salam, Salam, everybody.
Hey.
Hi. What I mean is, how do you see that it is you in the way versus being a channel of the higher vision. So I don't know if the question is clear. And what does it mean, when you're in the way of you being a channel?
Yeah. Yeah, and you totally are. Like the little brief moments I've had in terms of communicating with you, you totally have that. You are totally a channel of higher vision. But what I see with you is that you're being resisted by many things in your path, say by your family or people who don't understand you for what you're doing. There's a lot of resistance from lower people in terms of how they see you. You're also like you also have like a Sayyidina Zainab sort of energy, right? The sort of, as Alicia calls it, the activist energy. So that is not very well received in many places, especially where you live, and many, just the way people are around you. It's met with a lot of resistance, let's just say, with women who are trying to become empowered, right? In their own way. This is a movement. It's a
Yeah.
global movement that's happening to a lot of us, a lot of women. We're moving up from that just men ruling sort of things, and it's bringing women back. So this links to a vision I had also a few years ago about women coming back, that there's an imbalance. So it was showing me that there was a huge yin yang, and that the male, the masculine polarity is over dominant of the women, the female polarity. So now this Medi consciousness time, the woman polarity is coming back, and it's becoming back into balance. But this is requiring a lot of women to step up and be more empowered, right? So your path, I think, is met with a lot of resistance, and you sort of doubt yourself, but it's more about you maintaining your self-respect at this point and really believing in yourself most of all, and not allowing others to dominate you in any sort of way when it comes to lower consciousness, like putting you down, or any in this sort of lower sort of vibe. Just maintain your power, right? And you have as your profile photo a thing that I've always loved. It's a Ibn Arabi Mandela thing. But yeah, what do you think? What do you think the answer is for yourself? Let's see if you can come up with an answer right now. I think you know the best for yourself. I can't answer that for you. This is the path of the guide, is just to, like, we tend to, as guides for ourselves, for each other, we tend to nudge each other in the right direction, but we can't answer your question. It's something you have to experience yourself and answer for yourself, right?
Yeah. Thank you for reflecting that. I mean, the moment you answered, subhanAllah, I switched off the car, so your voice was gone for a little bit. So sometimes
it was.
I'm not. So, but then I put it
there
on
you
my
go.
ear. Yeah.
Well, there you go. It shows you that I can't answer your question. You are your own best answer.
And so, what I feel like, I really like your point and saying that we are creating our reality. So it's really hard to explain you're right. It's very hard for me to pull myself out from lower vibrations. But the thing I see that's mostly problematic, and I don't want to blame anyone, but it's really like the women don't support women. I feel like women want to live in the shallow understanding of deen, like where you need to maintain it for social approval. So that's the hardest thing for me. And to feel like, as a woman, I don't have sisters. Like, if you tell us a girl, like, you're my sister, it's okay for her to say, no, I don't approve with the way you live, like you're just putting each other down. So for me, we're talking about femininity, but it seems like the women, for me, maybe even I have that, but I keep seeing that, it's like the woman's in the way of her own I don't know, like this feminine energy, it can't be harbored by a woman, then how are we gonna help each other? I don't know how.
You know, you the first thing you have to do is drop the limited perspectives other people impose on you. This is a big path. This is a big theme of the path. It's really not caring what other people think, knowing that you're a very independent energy from everyone else. Your path is not, you know, if someone thinks something about it, that's from their limited ego, first of all, and you can't really care for that. And just move away from caring what other people think is a big part of this path. As soon as you start to care what other people think, and this has made me very independent of an artist. And honestly, I actually don't even have a lot of friends at this point, but I have very real friends like you guys. Alicia is a big part of my journey, you know, in helping me maintain that level. But you know, I've always had people come in my life that have been very real and that have been at my level, and that's I like that. You know, I don't care for people who are going to put me down. What I find is I tend to distance myself from people like that, and that actually can be really, really helpful for you. I'm someone who spends a lot of time by myself. You know, I don't care for social things. I'm actually not even as much social as I talk and I am. I actually am not a very social person at all. I don't mingle with crowds. I don't mingle with social people. So it's just a matter of, you know, just sometimes you have to protect your energy. So maybe you have to do that. Pull away from people who are putting you down in that way, right? Sometimes you have to do that. If you're not strong enough to stand your ground, then maybe pull away from people. And limited understanding of what women are meant to do and these things. Yeah, you're gonna. I've come to a lot of resistance with that. I'm still struggling with that, right? I'm not to the point where I'm struggling with it, but I just tend to hide my half my identity now, and that's okay with me. It's like, okay, this is what I gotta do. This is what I've got to do. So I'm willing to do that. So whatever you need to do. And as Alicia calls us, we're like the rebels. We're like the people that are trying to break the regular traditional paradigms of how things are done. And that's the role we play, but we got to be really brave in doing that. We're rebels, and then we got to live up to that name, right? It's you know, and also that sort of, as you had mentioned once before to me about the Lilith energy, about this sort of dark feminine, right? This dark sort of persona of women that has to be integrated in regular society, right? This what people think of women as aspects of us that, you know, when it comes to our sexuality or it comes to our whatever, these aspects are not dark. They're meant to be integrated into our regular life in a very healthy way, and not to be, and to be okay with you being like that. You know, don't, you know, put a sort of limit on what a feminine persona is. It can be very different for different women. One woman is going to be somewhere. That doesn't mean you're going to be like that. People tend to think that there's supposed to be a bunch of robots walking around. No, we're very different people, and that's okay. You know, we're very different. We're very unique. Be yourself, be unique, and be okay with that, right?
I mean, yeah,
right?
Yeah, يعني it's big. Yeah, it takes a lot of courage, mashallah, to reach that.
It takes a lot of courage, yeah. That's something you're gonna be given energy to be brave about. But then you're gonna see, like, for example, with me, I see, you know, I don't know if any of you believe in the whole spirit realm of animals, but actually animals come through in the form of signs for you too sometimes. And I see, like right now I'm wearing a shirt with a lion print. I see lions come through, you know, in my reality, where say there's a lion on a coffee thing the other day, right? So it's showing me that the energy of the lion is coming through. So if you start to pay attention to the subtle signs of how sort of God manifests himself in very practical ways for you, and it can be very personal to you of how these synchronicities translate to you. But lion is something that's very brave, it's very courageous, you know, doesn't take anything, you know, in its path. It just moves along. So sort of like that, you know, you just have to develop a sense of being empowered for yourself, you know, and you'll be given help, and I'm sure you have along your path to keep you motivated, right?
Yes.
But it is hard. I can't say that it's not hard. It's definitely, it's not easy. You know, this is not something I want to bypass because it's not easy.
No, I appreciate you saying that, you know, pay attention to the signs so often, like you're worried about, yeah, which I think for an artist, like stops you from being a transmitter of any sort, when you're worried about like what people are saying and what they're doing versus what you're saying, just seeing the sign, like
totally
numbers, yeah, or like whatever you see when you meditate.
Yeah, and just let go of your totally, yeah, and let go of your sense of self-respect in any sort of way, because that is going to have to go out the window sooner or later, you know. You know, honestly, I can say for myself, like when I joined social media, like for example, I was becoming very popular, and to the point where then I was plummeted because I had to maneuver my own inner journey so much. And I sort of made the decision to sort of pull back, just to protect my own energy, because what I was finding is that I was being influenced by whatever the outside social media sphere. And so I was okay with just kind of living my own truth. And whoever wanted to come, I found that I was being aligned with all the right people at the right time. And I didn't really need a sort of social media setting that was very open, that was, you know, bringing in a bunch of people at the bunch of times. I just, my journey specifically was about just getting specific sort of encouragement and guidance, and you know, openings very specifically, very personal to me, and that's, I was okay with that. And you know, the fame thing and that aspect I had to let go of, because I felt like you know, for me to be an open channel, I had to let go of whatever everybody else was thinking and doing, and just embrace my own journey, and then be more of a anchor, you know, anchor of higher reality, more than I was. I feel, I mean, what I was shown is I would get a chance to open up to showing my work at a much more grander scale. As my guide said, this is for you to become big. So he had seen that many years ago, that it would open to me. But for now, I like to be in my humble shell and just do the work in a very real way that's not influenced by others. And you like it, but hey, when the time comes, you'll see how big this is my attitude, you know. This is I don't really care if you don't think, if you don't see the higher picture in this. This is, I know it is, and I've seen it, and that's where I'm headed. So, you know, that's, yeah.
Just a quick note that I guess before we wrap up,
Yeah, we should.
Two things. Yeah, no, two things. One is that you could be a seeker on the path, and then there's one who channels. So you, for example, as one who channels, you can't channel technically if you're full. So it's like a constant sort of emptying required. The more you hold on to the solids or the idols within, then you don't become this, you're not an optimal receiver. Correct.
Totally.
And then, you know, because it's like you're full, your cup is always full. So how are you going to keep receiving? So it's a constant emptying. I noticed one thing. Second thing was in regards to, you know, this whole thing of what others perceive of you, i.e. if you're an artist or whatever you are. I think too, as an artist, what is more important to me is, do I lose my authenticity in order to appease and not feel good within, like, you know, in alignment with, because I think a true artist is one who's really authentic to their uniqueness, irrespective. I think the greatest artists are all about just being this you know, being just themselves and embracing that whole sort of self, or their whole selves, you know. And the more we are concerned about perceptions and, you know, what others may think, the more we will face that perhaps. And the more we step into our true self, that's when we probably would attract resistance. And then we are shown, you know, what we need to let go of. So if it's family, or if it's people, or if it's even friends, you know, that becomes manifest and known to you the more authentic we are. And then you let go. And then, like you said, in your case, you have like, let's say less than a handful of real people around you, and that's more than 1 million followers or 1 million friends or whatever, associates. So then you get this inner peace at the end, because you're retaining what matters most, and that's authenticity. And that's also representing, you know, in the path of the Naqshbandi, they have the Naqsh, which has the haq, you know, haq, truth. And that's what we want ultimately. That's what we're aspiring and wanting to reach. And we can't reach haq as long as we're not authentic.
Totally.
Yeah.
You're channeling this painting right now in the moment.
There you go.
It's so funny because I moved with this in the background. And before I was with my Allah painting, which was this one. But we were talking more about God when this was in the background. See the subtle sort of signs you can notice as an artist. And then we moved to the energy of protection in this one, which we started to channel more about how to protect ourselves and move into our power and all that kind of stuff. So it was very interesting how you made the connection now, but it was interesting because I find these paintings, they channel certain energies in the moment, or I actually am personally given visions of certain paintings that I need to bring back in my consciousness. So they're part of my consciousness. So I'm myself am reminded of my own paintings that have come from my own mind, well, from a higher mind, but to remind me, okay, now this energy, bring back this energy, or bring back sometimes it's this kulwala, like if I need more protection, it's like Surah Falak, okay, bring that back, that in my consciousness, so it's interesting. Or the phoenix will come up in my mind, or okay, now embody more of a strong consciousness, or whatever it is. Or it's really strange to describe, but I'm actually facilitated and helped by my own paintings, if that makes any sense. So they're like my companions, my guides, as you can call it, as much as people are. So beautiful. That's an interesting phenomenon, but yeah, thought to share.
Right. Okay, so we've almost reached the max. So if you want to just, wrap up with maybe a one-liner as culmination or summation.
I think I said enough.
Okay.
I think what's her name? She has L as she's your friend here. I don't know if she wanted to say something, because we were talking before the recording happening,
no,
but I really
liked. I was just actually talking to my mom, so I accidentally had the mic on. That's why there was some noise. I've been mainly just absorbing, listening.
Yeah, really nice to meet you and everybody here. And
Equally.
Yeah, thank you for Alicia for. Thank you, Alicia, for facilitating this and everything that you do. It was actually a very different vibe than yesterday, wasn't it, Mehtab? We moved in from. I told Alicia I'll be your muse for the day and night, to sort of like inspire you. My goal is to inspire at a very sort of practical level. I just want to let go of myself and sort of just be there for people at a very core level, where I can sort of instill in them a sense of faith and iman in their own journey and their own uniqueness. And that's what I'm all about. I've been trained to let go of myself completely on this path. and not to portray myself in any sort of useless way that makes any sense, but more to do with channeling in the moment and really connecting to people at a very personal, core spiritual level that they need, you know, and that's what I need is what others need. And I feel like that's where I make the connection. It comes back to me and my own personal journey, and that connects to everyone else's personal journey in some sort of way. So that's it. Yeah. And Noor hasn't fallen asleep, so that's good. That means that I said something useful. So anyways, that's it for me. I'm gonna wrap it up there, but any last words anybody else has, go ahead.
And okay, you know, you have beautiful works, and I know that you've been so generous to step out of the whole you know, the where art demands you to sell maybe just the originals, and you've been so kind to allow seekers, you know, from all walks to have your works in their space, whatever that space means to them. So how does one get access to your works, like if they want to, you know, purchase and so
Yeah,
forth? Because
I mean,
that
I
itself
have
is part of the openings, to have certain
totally.
energetic elements.
Totally, yeah. Making a living off of art is definitely a focus, but I find I'm really helped in those ways, in very mysterious ways. But yeah, I have an email. You can maybe type it in the bottom, and I have a website called muhammadanart.com. I also have an Instagram page, Muhammadan_art is where I sort of have a sort of array of all my work. I've just plastered it on there. So it's all there. If you ever want are interested in a digital print, I do those as well. And yeah, I'm also open to working with organizations if they want to, say, buy the digital copy of the paintings and then resell them. I also do that as well. My goal is just to kind of get it out there. I'm someone who wants the work to expand in a way that's now very limited. I want everyone to benefit from it. So I'm open to working with charity organizations, and I know I've worked with Alicia. I just want everyone to benefit from it. I've let go of my own sort of attachment to it, honestly. So yeah.
Perfect.
So yeah, you can reach me there.
Right.
And yeah, if you ever want a piece, everything is available in digital form. So as you can see here, I've had to keep a lot of my originals because of a higher thing that I've had to maintain. But these are my babies. They're all my babies that I've made. You know, I have two kids, two sons on my physically, but more to do with the art that I've made that are my kids. Those are many. As all art creations are, they're the birthing of the higher consciousness in physical. So proud of them. Well, not proud of them either. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Even my pride when it comes to the paintings has disappeared. I don't know where I'm at right now. I'm just like, okay, where's the next piece? Let's do the next piece, you know, and the next piece. And then I let go of that. I forget about that piece. And then I do the next piece. And that's how my life has been, you know. So as my guide calls them manuscripts. So I'm happy to have that title to these, that they're manuscripts and that they're going to be studied. And as he told me, they're going to be studied in the future to come as very priceless, because they carry a lot of symbolism. They're actually not what you look at. If you look at them very carefully and you study them, real art is meant to be studied at a very sort of subtle level. So that's the real appreciators of art will see that, as you have, Alicia, and many others. So yeah, it's meant to open you up, you know. Yes, you see something on the surface. Yes, it's round, it's this and this, but then life can be studied more at a more subtle level. Where are the signs coming from? More subtle levels. Open up your perception to see the magic where you don't typically see it. So that's kind of right. That is, I'll leave it at that. open up to the magic of where you typically don't see it, right? The more you open your perception, the more you will see the magic unfold in your life. And this is what it's all about.
Collaboration coming up, inshallah. So yeah, so we'll wrap it up for now, but we really appreciate, you know, your time, your energy, your sharing, most of all your love and your generosity in so many ways.
Well, thank you.
Have
Thank you
anything
for
to
having
say,
me.
Mirza?
Honored to see you all and everything that you guys have spoken as well. Oh, you all are sheikhas. See, this is the thing. You've got to embody the energy of a sheikha wherever you go. It's just we all are meant to do that. It's not. It's an empowered women station. So I empower you all through my energy. May the power of God help you with that. So
thank you.
All right.
Salam.
Thank you and salam.
Thank you, Sana. Thank you so much.
You guys stop the
gold
recording?
energy.
I know, right? I'm sending you that power energy. Really, honestly, it's coming from my being to you.
Thank you.